Anton Frondell, 6'1", 198 from Djurgården. I never know how to say it, so I just say it in the fun way. 11 goals, 14 assists, 25 points in 29 games. Does Anton Frondell make sense for the Chicago Blackhawks? Mario Tirabassi?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks for watching, everybody. This has been our latest draft profile on CHGO Blackhawks.
Yeah, he definitely fits the profile of the need that the Blackhawks have. They need size up front. They need a guy that's a natural center. And they need someone that fits the dynamicism skill set of a top six forward. And I think Frondell has all of those things. I think he's a guy that is skilled in his hands. He's got a high-level shot. The two-way game is good. There is an engagement in playing defense, which I think is, for a young player, is a good starting point.
Yeah.
You don't want to have to convince someone to play defense as a forward unless they are unworldly offensively skilled. Then you say, okay, well, maybe you get away with it, but there's not many players like that. Frondell, I think, is a guy that he's played against men. He has produced at that level. And, outside of the U18s, the U18 World Championships, he has excelled for Team Sweden on the international stage against his peers. So really, there's nothing to say there's anything glaring that would take you away from him at number 3.
So, yes, but the fact that he did not perform well at World Juniors is a bit concerning. You want to see a better performance there. This feels like a very, you're going to pick Frondell and you're going to get a good player. I don't know if you're going to pick Frondell and you're going to get a great player. You might, but I think it is a safer pick with a higher floor but a lower ceiling. And if the Hawks keep the third pick, I want someone a little more dynamic than Frondell. Like you said, physically mature, north and south, plays Jeff Blashill's air quotes, winning hockey, all those sort of things, and it's great. But I want someone with big scoring upside. This might be the last chance the Hawks have, let's hope, to pick in the top 3 for quite some time without a massive draft lottery win. And if this is your final top 3 pick of this rebuild, I think it needs to be a home run. I don't know if Frondell's a home run. And even as we've gone through these scouting reports over the last few weeks, if I'm taking the less spectacular, less dynamic, but maybe more complete player, I'm more sold on Caleb Denoyer than I am with Anton Frondell in that regard. I just don't like the fact that the word disappearing or disappeared has been used with Frondell a lot in a lot of scouting reports.
Yeah. I think you find that with a lot of young guys, is sometimes, especially when you're playing at a higher level, in Frondell's case, being able to play in the Allsvenskan and play against men, sometimes it's harder to get those standout performances. But I think you look at, his performances in the J20 league, which is, the Swedish junior league. I think it's there's enough there that as guys grow and mature in their games, I think that can come along with it. And I think that is one thing that I think you see from sometimes with players where it's just like, their consistency issues and things. Like sometimes that can carry with the player, but sometimes a guy gets it with the right coaching, the right, getting through the junior levels and getting to the professional game. They see what works. Some guys take the message, some guys don't. I feel like with Frondell, like the disappearing, I'm not as concerned with it, because when he is on and it's more consistent that he is on, I think he is that high level player. And I think comparing him to Denoyer, like physically about the same size, I think Frondell plays a little bit more physical than he does. And I think when we talked about Denoyer in his profile, it was along the lines of like a higher floor, not as high of a ceiling type of player, does everything well, but nothing exceptionally well.
Right.
With Frondell, I think he's he's got all that same attributes, but I think the shot quality sets him apart from a Desnoyers. I think you look at the way that he's able to have a bit more of a powerful shot with his one-timer, get shots off quickly. Like that is something that I think sets him apart in that style of player in this draft class, where you're like, oh well, it's a safe pick, quote unquote. Like when I look at the options at number 3 for the Hawks, Desnoyers and Frondell are like those guys, but I think Frondell's shot sets him apart. And I think, too, like, if you have a guy that has a high-level shot, put him with Connor Bedard. You have 2 guys, 1-2 down the middle, who theoretically have the high-end scoring and the elite scoring shooting ability. That's a nice 1-2 punch down the middle, especially if your number 2 guy is Frondell, where the defensive side of the game is at a higher level than Bedard's.
Well, and you can also, you fantasize about those 2 guys in the power play together. Bedard either playing the point or playing the boards. Yeah. And getting getting those distance shots, and you got Frondell in the slot, using that shot in close like that. That's a really dangerous combination. Look, I don't think that Frondell is a bad pick. I feel like this one needs to be a home run. I'm not sure if Frondell is. I'm not saying he's not, but I would like something with a little bit of a higher scoring ceiling than him. But one thing I will say is, as we do these scouting reports, it feels like Frondell might be the most NHL ready of the prospects, and if anyone has a chance to jump right away, maybe aside from, I think maybe Schaefer would play right away, if drafted, maybe. But I think Frondell might, if anyone is going to play in the 2025-26 season, it might be Anton Frondell.
Yeah, having the experience played against older competition. It's obviously playing in Sweden is not playing in the NHL, but getting up to that speed, that physicality, being able to rub elbows against men in that competition, and to score at a level that is one of the highest, U20 players at that level in scoring in history. Like that is impressive. So yeah, if I'm putting money on someone from this draft class coming out and playing day one in the NHL, I think the 3 guys that you would put would be Misa, Frondell, and Schaefer. And I think Frondell I throw in there just because of the aspect of having that experience playing against older, tougher competition. Translating, though, from Europe to the NHL, speed of the game, the compact ice, that's a big shift. But I think
Swedes have handled it pretty well.
Yeah, usually. Yeah. But I think for the Hawks, if you get a guy at number 3 that plays one more year of junior or overseas or whatever it is, that's not a bad thing, considering this draft class, which is top heavy, but it's not top heavy with a Celebrini or a Bedard, right, where it's like clearly like their next step is the NHL. Like there's not a guy that's cut and dry to do that, but I think Frondell has a chance to be that kind of player. And also, if he did come over to North America, he could go right to Rockford instead of having to go to Chicago, or having to go straight to the NHL, because if you come over from Europe, you don't have the age limit thing that the CHL does.
That is Anton Frondell, 6'1", 198 from Sweden. He is number 1 on Central Scouting's final ranking of international skaters, 25 points in 29 games with Djurgården. Could he be the next pick for the Chicago Blackhawks?